Greetings and thanks for tuning in. I'm Maura Kelly from People's Academy Middle Level in Morrisville. Welcome to this episode of PLP Pathways. I'd like to thank Orca Media for letting us film in their studio.
Hi, and I'm Don Taylor. I teach here in Montpelier, and we'd also like to thank the Middle Grades Collaborative and the Tarrant Institute for Innovative Education for supporting this program and for supporting PLP Pathways.
Before we get into today's show, we want to make sure you know how to stay connected to PLP Pathways. You can visit our site, follow us on Twitter, and keep tabs on the project through our blog. We'll show you these again at the end of the show.
Every month, we also host a Google Hangout for Vermont educators, and this pre-recorded segment that you see today will lead to more discussion. Our next Google Hangout is at 3:30 on April 28th, and the topics tend to change, but basically we've been talking about the implementation of PLPs and personalized learning as per the Agency of Education's Act 77. So if you're interested, it's a great place to tune in and hear how other educators are dealing with personalized education and what they're doing in their classroom to make that happen.
So Don, I know this time of year a lot of people are having their student-led conferences where students are sharing their development on their goals and the growth that they've had since setting their goals in the fall. Do you want to share with us a little bit about your experience at your student-led conferences?
So this round of conferences just finished on Friday, and at this time of the year we basically make sure to have conferences with all of our 7th graders. Our 8th graders set up their conferences or meetings with the high school because they're going through the last stage of the personal learning framework, the transformation, and so they're starting to make that transition and bridge into the 9th grade. What was interesting this year was that with our 7th graders, as you know, we've gone to transferable skill goals. So instead of having content-specific goals or content-related goals, we're using the Agency of Education's transferable skills to help kids set goals. And we feel that those allow for a much wider range of activities, events, classes to be included in the PLP. And this was the first time that we've had conferences with students, with parents that were based solely on the transferable skills. And I think the feedback was really positive. One of the benefits of meeting with the parents is that they can give you insight into how kids are doing outside of school, how they're feeling about school, and they can help shape where you want those goals to be. And of course, this is in concert with the students. So overall, I thought it went really well. One last thing I'd like to kind of mention about this is that when you talk to kids individually and you use the PLP and their goals, you realize how different and how creative and how unique each of your students are. And it's really hard to go back to the classroom and say, okay, everybody's going to do the same thing when you see this incredible range of interests and talents. And it's really leading me to think about how we can use the PLP and personalization to shape curriculum that will allow all students to access the content, but also to express their interest and to work on those transferable skills. So that was really good. Now, you also have had your conferences. How'd those go?
They were really great. I think it's always so empowering for the student to be able to sit down and share with their families their successes in their learning and also about their personal interests and the goals that they've been working on, and also to have those conversations with parents about their students' interests, what they see outside of school. Because one of the nice things about the transferable skills in the PLP is that we want the learning to happen after the school day ends. It doesn't have to happen just within school. And so being able to really talk and partner with parents about students' PLP plans and come up with strategies to support students, it's always a really nice day.
One of the pieces of feedback we did get was that we have kids come in 15 minutes prior to their conference, and this round of conferences we had kids make a screencast, so they had a little short video to show their parents, and then the parents come in and have 15 minutes with the teaching team. And one of the things that we got back was that it's too short and that we don't have as many meetings as they might like to have over the course of the year. And I know that everybody is very busy, but it's just something to think about, maybe making those check-ins with parents a more regular occurrence instead of in the fall and in the spring, which is traditional. Or maybe even figuring out ways that parents could use the PLP and through the PLP and with the student to provide input into the direction or to give feedback to the teachers through that. So that was pretty good. Now, on to another topic. You've mentioned recently that you had your 7th graders, I believe, work with some 5th graders, and we had a conversation and you've written a blog entry about PLP mentoring, and I was wondering if you could talk more about that.
Yeah, so the way that our school is set up, our building is set up, the 7th graders and the 5th graders share a hallway at our school, which lends itself really well to 7th graders and 5th graders being able to interact with each other, which doesn't always happen if we're not intentionally planning it. So we spent some time talking with the 5th grade teaching team to see what supports they needed with the implementation of PLPs with the 5th graders. This was the first time these students were setting goals, and they felt like their students needed a little support and guidance. So what we've done is we've paired our students up with some of the 5th graders. Actually, all of the 5th graders have a 7th grade mentor. And our students went through the process of setting SMART goals with them. A lot of times our 7th graders shared their own personal goals and their sites, talked to them about what makes a good goal. And I became really interested on what the impact was on our 7th graders because I could see that the 5th graders were totally engaged. They were really interested in learning from the 7th graders. They were listening to everything they were saying. They were adapting their goals to be more in line with the SMART goals and the expectations. And in getting my data, I really found that the 7th graders had a better understanding of the goal setting process and what made a strong goal after sharing it with 5th graders. So it really got me thinking about this partnership between 2 grade levels or even more than that, and how it really is a mutually beneficial relationship. The 5th graders get the advice from the older students and really get to learn from their experiences. And then the older students get the leadership skills, but also they have to really think about each component. And it gives them that authentic audience to be able to really show their skills. And so we're really looking forward to doing more PLP collaborations in the future.
And I guess when I read your blog entry about this, I thought to myself, that perhaps this is one of those activities that should be built into people's implementation program. And over the course of the year that we've been doing the PLP Pathways project, more than once, items like this have come to my attention. And I just am asking myself, what would happen if, as part of the implementation program, we were having kids, multi-age kids across grade levels help each other out and collaborate, and couldn't that also fit right into the idea of community and citizenship and developing positive relationships? And I just thought you articulated that really well, and I'm wondering, and I'm encouraging also other folks out there to be thinking about a mentoring program or elements of mentoring so that the students become teachers, because I think, as you pointed out, that really allows them to clarify their own thinking around goals, around sites, around aesthetics, and that's a very powerful experience. I want to connect that to our last topic that we're going to talk about, which is how the PLP and working with personalization can lead to the development of curriculum. And that's an example, I think, of perhaps service learning, where you have kids going outside the classroom and helping other kids develop their goals and work with the PLP. And as we're moving forward and thinking about next year, I know that in our program we're thinking about using some of the themes in the PLP to start shaping some of our curriculum and content choices. And this is a developing aspect of working with the PLPs, and I think it's really important. But when you have the PLPs, the personal learning framework of identity, growth and reflection, and transformation, when you're thinking about those as you're planning the curriculum, it may create opportunities to have more engagement, more motivation, more personalization, and more opportunity for kids to really demonstrate those strengths that were just pointed out in their conferences. So that's something that we're looking forward to. And I'm also wondering, over the course of this year, what has working on the PLP, how has that influenced or impacted your program?
I think one of the things that I've really been thinking about is where I see the PLP living throughout the day for the students, where are they being given opportunities to work on it, and also where am I personalizing the learning, as you were saying. And so thinking about connecting it to our content areas and content area skill proficiencies, and thinking about those different pieces. And I think more and more I'm thinking in that way, but I'm also thinking about scheduling for students, because I think unfortunately at school the schedule tends to sometimes drive the choices that students can make. And so how do we really allow the organization for schools to match that of a flexible pathway and allow for different opportunities for students for personal learning and personal growth? And so those are some of the things that I've really been thinking about going towards next year. How do I really allow a more flexible and personalized experience for all my students?
And just to extend that a little bit further, much of what you're talking about with flexible learning environments and also organization and meeting the nature and needs of adolescents is directly aligned with middle school is not a building, and principles and standards that are basic foundations of good middle level education. And I think you make a great point where as you continue with personalization, you see the opportunity and also to shape educational programs. Speaking of middle level and middle grades, for those of you out there, don't forget the Middle Grades Institute is happening June 27th to July 1st at Castleton University. You can sign up for that through the Middle Grades Collaborative. And I'd again like to thank Orca Media for allowing us the use of their studio, and the Taylor Institute for Innovative Education, and also the Middle Grades Collaborative for their support. Hopefully we'll see you out there on PLP Pathways. And thank you very much. And we'll have one more webinar this year, and that'll be it for the 2015-2016 PLP Pathways project.